Hey everyone, this is Mike Prasad here with GirlGamer.com. I'm sitting down here with John Koller, the head of Sony's hardware marketing, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the new control schemes, the 3D stuff that we saw over at CES earlier today, and see about what they're doing going into 2010. Give us some insight on what Sony's going for 2010 with 3D.
Yeah, so 3D is going to be a really big part of what we do and what we market and what we sell on PS3 in 2010. I think that it constantly points to the innovation that we have on the platform. I think last year we had a number of firmware updates and other things that kind of added to, and then obviously the new slimmer model and the new price point. This year is going to be about motion control, which we've discussed in some part prior to CES, and then 3D gaming. And the 3D gaming element is fantastic in that it really kind of places you in the holy grail of gaming. It places you in the game. It feels like you're that character. If you played any of the, maybe a Gran Turismo at the booth here today, it feels like you're actually on the track with the cars. It's fantastic. And I think the beauty of 3D gaming from our perspective, and really from a consumer perspective, is that you're not going to be required as a PS3 owner to have to do much. It's going to take one firmware update, as they all know, as your viewers all know. It's a free update. It'll come likely this summer, and we're looking at that being a very simple adoption. It does require a 3D TV and the glasses, and the glasses are not kind of the old school red and blue that you used to see in the 80s. This is actually a little bit more higher tech, but again, I mean, it's not going to require a lot for someone to get into 3D gaming, and it's going to be very exciting when they do.
Now on the hardware side, you're saying you have to have a 3D enabled TV and glasses. Now the glasses, are you guys coming out with any kind of Sony special edition glasses, or is it going to be up to third-party providers?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're actually looking into it now. We'd like to obviously sell glasses if possible, so we've got to look at the opportunities before us, but there will be glasses available, whether it's from us or from a third-party licensee for the market.
Now, movie-wise, Blu-ray 3D we hear is something that's coming up. Will the PS3 be supporting that?
Absolutely, yeah. So as I was mentioning, that it'll be a separate firmware update from gaming, but again, simple, free download. I mean, most consumers are updating their firmware pretty regularly now, so yeah. I mean, we've been kind of checking out some of the Blu-ray 3D movies just internally, and I'll tell you, it feels like when someone's coming out and grabbing you in your seat and bringing you into the movie. It's it's pretty outstanding. So again, like that's something that as 3D proliferates a little more, and we're really at the cutting edge right now in 2010, but over the next couple of years I think we'll see a pretty wide range of adoption from customers. I mean, it really is engrossing.
Okay, cool. So we're looking forward to some 3D movies and 3D gaming on the PS3, and we can probably expect some good pickup from the developers on the rollout of new titles, is what I'm hearing. Yeah,
I would say that you're going to see a lot of games from third parties. We know of what we're doing first party, and we also have some insight into what the third party community is doing, but we just from our discussions know that they've been very excited. It's a new element of gaming, and one that hasn't really been fully explored, and it's going to be some good games out there. So
cool. And you're spending most of this in 2010, right?
Well, the launch of 3D will be in 2010. Obviously the rollout of games will continue on into the future. So there'll be a robust lineup at launch, and it'll just kind of snowball from there.
Control schemes is a new big thing that you guys can look at, different ways of controlling. I know we saw the iPad demo and a couple other cool things over at the floor. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so there's a number of things happening on that front. I think you bring up iPad. iPad's kind of an interesting way to look at AR, augmented reality, in terms of how you kind of interact with an element. And then you obviously have, you stay within the control scheme idea, you have motion control, which we've talked about a little bit. We're not talking a lot about here at CES, but it's a very big launch for us this year. And again, that kind of places players in that game as well. A very, what PlayStation can offer is a very precise and realistic kind of ultra-sensory experience, fully ultra-sensory, and really engross the person in that motion action. And so there's a lot of things that are kind of coming within gaming, and particularly within the PlayStation sector, that are really exciting, that kind of change the dynamic of how people kind of experience games. We talked about 3D and motion control and augmented reality. All those things are kind of changing the dynamics of gaming.
Where do you feel that Sony is in relation to the female market?
In terms of like how well we're targeting that group.
Yeah.
I think we've been making an active effort to do so. I mean, I think many of your viewers are probably very familiar with the Hannah Montana pack, which we launched last year with the purple PSP, and there's a lot of growth opportunity there. We have one of our execs at Sony always says that gaming is the only industry that ignores 50% of the population. In some ways, that's been true historically. Like that hasn't in terms of console and maybe handheld gaming, and so there's a real concerted effort to be able to bring the female market more steadily into console and handheld gaming, and that's done not only through the hardware, but it's done through content. So Hannah Montana, the Pets lineup, the Imagine line, Loco Roco, those kinds of games have all done very well. But I think sometimes developers think, well, women gamers or female gamers only want that kind of game. Well, there's female gamers playing God of War 3 too, or will be, right? So so I think it's just how it's messaged and discussed, how it's marketed is really the key component.
What about the PSP Go? I know it's been. What's the reception been on your end for the PSP Go?
It's really been quite successful in our eyes. It's over our expectations in terms of sales right now. It had a very good holiday, and it's breaking new ground. So it's breaking new ground as the first full digital, full game handheld, which hasn't been done. And I think the work that went into it prior to the launch is really going to pay a lot of dividends, in the months to come. And that's getting all those titles from back catalog up on the PSN. I mean, I think for a PSP consumer, PSP fans that are watching, it's like you didn't have much on the PSN until PSP Go launched, and now we have nearly 300 titles that are launching, almost all the titles that are coming out on PSP Go day and date with PSN and retail. So it's a nice, better, cleaner situation, and those who are interested in digital can certainly download any time to PSP Go. And it's been a good product for us. We've been pleased.
There's 16 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage standard. Are you finding that people are using that pretty fast, or is it something that it's good size? What are you thinking?
It depends on the consumer. The consumers who purchased it first, more hardcore, tend to fill it up pretty quickly, and they then use memory stick or the digital locker on Media Go for PC to kind of add additional content specs. But recent purchasers through the holidays haven't filled it up as much, and this is just kind of anecdotal as well as some of the research that we run. So I guess the answer is in between. I mean, I think 16 gigs worked and works very well for us with PSP Go, and the addition of being able to add add content through memory stick, I think really aids that. I mean, and those are for sale everywhere also. So I think it's been a good total.
You mentioned all these PS2 users moving over to the PS3 Slim with the price drop and the new form factor and everything. And I know it's kind of been a thorn in the fangirls, fanboys side, but the backwards compatibility on the original models versus the PS3 Slim. Is that that's the way it's going to go, and that's going to be it?
Yeah. We've said it a few times, but it's not coming back. And we're at a stage now where we don't hear many complaints about that anymore. I mean, for a time when we first launched, there was some discussion about from customers about, well, when's it going to come? But we really don't hear it as much anymore, and a lot of that's because the sheer lineup of PS3 games that are available now is really substantial. It's a robust lineup. I mean, through the whole catalog, and when you first launch a platform, I think backwards compatibility was very important. Now I think it's less as important as more of these PS2 consumers come over. They're getting the games that they were familiar with on PS2. Many of those games have come over to PS3 now. The SOCOMs, the Ratchets, you're seeing games like Mag that are extensions of other franchises. So these are all kind of the familiar games that just are familiar brands that came over. So it's not coming back.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about in terms of cool hardware accessories? 2010's a big year, 3D. Anything we didn't cover that you might want to mention?
Well, I mean, I started off just saying how innovation is so important to us. I think as we go through the year, we're going to see, a lot of very exciting things come from PlayStation. Not only on the hardware side and peripheral side, but the software lineup. And the software lineup we haven't gone through a lot, but first and third party, we're going to see, we could see 180, 185 games. We saw 179 games this past year. It's, as the momentum builds for PS3, and it's scorchingly hot right now, is that so goes development. And so the successes that we just had is going to pay so much more benefit in the 12 to 18 months to come, because development dollars are going to go into PS3, and there's going to be a lot of creative games coming. I mean, we know a lot of the games coming for next year and 2011 or 2010, 2011, I think people are going to be very, very happy with what's coming.
Well, because we saw Mag, we saw Heavy Rain, we saw God of War 3. I mean, this is good stuff.
There's a lot of good stuff.